The Jagdpanzer IV was the best German tank destroyer developed during World War II. Built on the proven chassis of the Panzer IV, this specialized vehicle marked a departure from traditional tank designs, focusing instead on the growing need for effective anti-tank platforms. Its combination of firepower, armor, and a low-profile silhouette made it a formidable weapon against Allied tanks, particularly on the Eastern Front. The Jagdpanzer IV was conceived to replace the aging Sturmgeschütz III assault guns. It retained the Panzer III's robust chassis, but replaced its turret with a fixed, heavily armored superstructure. This redesign allowed for a lighter vehicle with a sloped frontal armor of 80 mm thick, offering enhanced protection against enemy fire. Armed initially with the 7.5 cm PaK 39 gun, the Jagdpanzer IV could effectively counter medium tanks like the Soviet T-34. Later models such as the Panzer IV/70V featured the longer and more powerful 7.5 cm PaK 42 L/70 gun, capable of defeating even heavy Allied tanks at considerable ranges. Hitler was first shown photographs of the new vehicle in early April of 1944. He saw the new tank destroyer himself on the 20th of April during a demonstration arranged for his birthday. Hitler was happy with the vehicle and it was greenlit. In the fall of 1944, the official designation changed to Panzer IV/70V. This letter V meant the manufacturer, the Vomag company. The Vogtländische Maschinenfabrik AG, or Vomag, was a world-leading machine maker, and from 1915 it moved into vehicle manufacture. In 1940, Vomag was commissioned by the German army to conduct tank repairs and to begin tank manufacture. The company initially had 6 buildings for tank production, but in 1941 expanded again with the construction of a huge Panzerhalle, which was finally completed in 1943. Vomag initially produced the Sonderkraftfahrzeug 9 heavy half-track and the Panzer IV medium tank, but later it became one of the largest tank manufacturers in the Third Reich. In October of 1943, Vomag produced a prototype of the Jagdpanzer IV in competition with the Alket company and won the contract for its production. The company was solely responsible for the standard Jagdpanzer IV and eventually produced at least 1,600 examples of all models. The factory was heavily damaged by Allied bombing raids in March of 1945, and after the war it was dismantled by the Soviet occupiers. The crews of the vehicle also referred to it as the Guderian Ente or Guderian's duck. Its slow speed and decreased mobility are frequently cited as reasons for this nickname. The Panzer IV/70A was the other main version of the Jagdpanzer IV. Here the A stands for the Alket, a manufacturer of the Sturmgeschütz III that was ordered to redesign the Jagdpanzer IV superstructure to be mounted onto a standard Panzer IV chassis. It is important to note that the Vomag design used a modified chassis permitting a very low silhouette. However, mounting the superstructure onto the original Panzer IV chassis required additional vertical steel plates mounted onto the chassis to counter height differences. The resulting vehicle was about 40 centimeters taller and lacked the sharp, edged nose of the Vomag variant. Only approximately 278 were built from August of 1944 to March of 1945. Minor modifications and improvements were made throughout the production runs of all variants, as well as several field improvements. The most common being the additional of armored skirts, the Schürzen in German. Both versions of the Jagdpanzer IV excelled in defensive roles, particularly during the later stages of the war when the German army shifted to holding territory against Allied forces. The Jagdpanzer IV was used en masse in tank destroyer battalions of both the Army and Waffen-SS Panzer divisions. The vehicle's armor and powerful weaponry enabled it to dominate medium tanks and pose a serious threat to heavier armor like the Soviet IS tank series. On the Eastern Front, where Soviet tanks advanced in waves, the Jagdpanzer IV was instrumental in inflicting significant losses. Jagdpanzer IV aces include SS Oberscharführer or Senior Squad Leader Rudolf Roy from the 12th SS Panzerjäger Battalion of the 12th SS Panzer Division. He was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross for battlefield bravery and credited with 36 tank kills. He was killed by an American sniper while looking out of the hatch of his Jagdpanzer IV during the Ardennes offensive in December of 1944. It was very successful as a tank destroyer due to its low profile, but performed poorly when used out of role as a substitute for tanks or assault guns to support infantry. Unfortunately, this was increasingly necessary in the later stages of the war because there was often nothing else available to the badly depleted German armored divisions. While effective in its role, the Jagdpanzer IV was not without flaws. The addition of the L-70 gun in later models increased the vehicle's weight, straining its mobility and mechanical reliability. Crews also had to contend with visibility issues due to the lack of a rotating turret, which limited its effectiveness in dynamic combat situations. Moreover, production limitations during the war's final years meant that fewer than 2,000 units were completed, reducing its overall impact on the battlefield. The Jagdpanzer IV is remembered as a prime example of Germany's shift toward specialized armored vehicles. It showcased the effectiveness of a well-designed tank destroyer and left a lasting impression on post-war military vehicle development. Despite its challenges, the Jagdpanzer IV's success against Allied tanks solidified its place in the annals of armored warfare. This tank destroyer's unique blend of firepower, armor, and stealth ensured its reputation as one of the most iconic vehicles of World War II. After the war, West Germany continued the Jagdpanzer concept with the Kanonenjagdpanzer. Some of those remained in service, until 1991. It is interesting to note that along with the Panzer IVs and Sturmgeschütz IIIs, Syria acquired in the 1950s 6 Jagdpanzer IV tank destroyers. These were used in the conflicts with Israel up until 1967, when most were destroyed, abandoned on the Golan Heights, overlooking Israel, or simply scrapped. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to support my channel, check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel please and press the bell notification button. Thank you and see you in the next video.